My girlfriend said, "You're too clingy. I need more independence." So I gave it to her. Stopped calling, stopped planning dates, stopped trying. 3 weeks later, she was crying that I didn't care anymore. I said, "I thought this was what you wanted." I, 26M, never thought I was clingy until she told me I was. We'd been together for 8 months, and I thought everything was going perfectly. I called her every morning, planned weekend dates, surprised her with little gifts, and made sure we spent quality time together. To me, this was what relationships looked like. Then came that conversation 3 weeks ago. She sat me down in her apartment, looking uncomfortable and fidgety. She explained that she felt suffocated, that I was too available, too present in her life. She needed space to breathe, to hang out with her friends without feeling guilty, to have independence. She said I was sweet but overwhelming, and that she needed me to step back. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Everything I thought was showing love and care was apparently pushing her away. I asked her what she wanted from me, and she said she just needed me to be less intense, less involved in every aspect of her life. She wanted to feel like she could miss me sometimes. So I gave her exactly what she asked for. I stopped calling her every morning. When she texted, I'd respond hours later instead of immediately. I canceled our standing dinner dates and told her she could let me know when she wanted to hang out. I stopped asking about her day, stopped bringing her coffee at work, stopped planning surprise dates. When she mentioned going out with friends, I just said that sounded fun and made my own plans. The first week felt strange. I kept reaching for my phone to text her, then remembering I was supposed to give her space. I filled my time with things I'd been neglecting, hitting the gym more often, calling old friends, working on a side project I'd abandoned. It was actually refreshing to focus on myself again. By the second week, I noticed she was texting me more frequently. Little messages about her day, photos of things that reminded her of me, questions about what I was up to. I kept my responses friendly but brief. When she suggested we grab dinner, I told her I already had plans with my college roommate who was in town. The third week was when everything changed. She called me on a Tuesday night, and I could hear the tears in her voice before she even started talking. She said she felt like I didn't care about her anymore, that I'd become distant and cold. She accused me of checking out of the relationship and asked if I was seeing someone else. I let her finish, then calmly reminded her that this was exactly what she'd asked for. She wanted independence and space, so I gave it to her. She wanted to not feel suffocated, so I stopped being present in every moment of her life. I thought this was what she wanted. She got quiet for a long moment, then said that wasn't what she meant. She just wanted me to tone it down a little, not disappear completely. She said she missed our morning calls and weekend plans. She missed feeling like I cared about her day and wanted to be part of her life. I told her I was confused because I'd done exactly what she asked. She'd said I was too clingy and needed to give her space, so I did. Now she was upset that I was giving her space. I asked her what she actually wanted from me because I was getting mixed signals. That's when she broke down completely. She admitted she'd been talking to her friends about our relationship, and they'd convinced her that I was being too needy. They'd told her that guys should chase, but not smother, that she should play a little hard to get to keep me interested. She said she'd been comparing our relationship to her friends' situationships and casual dating scenarios. I felt a mix of anger and disappointment. She'd sabotaged something good because of outside opinions instead of communicating with me directly. I told her that if she'd simply asked me to dial back the intensity a bit, I would have happily adjusted. Instead, she'd made me feel like everything I was doing was wrong and unwanted. She begged me to go back to how things were before. She said she realized now that she'd made a mistake, that she actually loved how attentive and caring I was. She missed the daily check-ins and planned dates. She said her friends were wrong, and she should have trusted her own feelings about our relationship. But something had shifted in me during those 3 weeks. I'd remembered what it felt like to have my own life, my own interests, my own schedule. I'd reconnected with friends I'd been neglecting and rediscovered hobbies I'd put on the back burner. More importantly, I'd realized that I had been putting too much of my identity into being her boyfriend. I told her I needed time to think. The 3 weeks of space had given me clarity about some things. While I'd been happy to prioritize our relationship, I'd been neglecting other important parts of my life. I'd been so focused on being the perfect boyfriend that I'd lost touch with who I was as an individual. Over the next few days, she texted constantly. Long messages about how sorry she was, how much she missed me, how she'd been stupid to listen to her friends. She sent photos of places we'd been together, forwarded memes she thought I'd find funny, and basically did everything I used to do that she'd complained about. The irony wasn't lost on me. Now she was being the clingy one, and I was the one needing space. I finally called her and suggested we meet in person to talk properly. We met at the coffee shop where we'd had our first date. She looked nervous and had clearly been crying. She immediately launched into another apology, saying she'd been an idiot and that she wanted things to go back to normal. I explained that while I appreciated her apology, I couldn't just flip a switch and go back to how things were. Her criticism had made me question everything about how I showed love and care. I'd spent 3 weeks analyzing our relationship and realized that while I may have been intense, her response had been to seek validation from friends instead of communicating with me directly. She asked what I wanted to happen next. I told her I was willing to work on things, but it would have to be different. I'd learned to value my independence during our break, and I wouldn't go back to making her my entire world. I wanted a relationship where we both maintained our individual lives while building something together. She agreed immediately, saying that sounded perfect, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. She was scared that the new version of me wouldn't love her as obviously or as intensely as before. I told her we could try dating again, but it would be a reset, not a continuation. We'd both learned things about ourselves and what we wanted. I wouldn't go back to daily morning calls or planning every weekend around her, but I also wouldn't be distant or uninterested. We'd find a middle ground. Update 1. It's been 2 months since we decided to try again, and things are definitely different. I've maintained the boundaries I established during our break. I see her twice a week instead of almost daily, and we text regularly, but not constantly. I kept up with the gym routine and friend connections I'd rediscovered. Initially, she seemed thrilled with this new dynamic. She'd tell me how attractive it was that I had my own life and interests. She'd brag to her friends about how independent and confident I'd become. But I started noticing small things that suggested she wasn't as happy with the change as she claimed. She'd make little comments about how I used to bring her coffee at work, or how I used to remember little details about her day. When I'd mention plans with friends, she'd ask why I hadn't invited her. She started initiating more physical affection and being more sexually forward, which seemed like an attempt to reclaim my attention. The real test came when she had a bad day at work and called me crying. In the past, I would have immediately offered to come over, bring her favorite takeout, and spend the evening comforting her. This time, I listened sympathetically and offered emotional support over the phone, but I didn't drop everything to rush to her side. She seemed surprised and a little hurt that I didn't offer to come over. She asked if I had plans, and when I said I was working on my side project, she got quiet. She said she was fine and hung up shortly after. Later that evening, she texted asking if I cared about her anymore. I called her back and explained that of course I cared, but I wasn't going to abandon my own responsibilities every time she had a difficult day. I reminded her that this was part of the independence she'd asked for, both of us being able to handle our own problems without completely relying on each other. She said she understood, but I could tell she was struggling with the reality of what she'd asked for. She wanted me to be less clingy, but she also wanted to know I'd drop everything for her when she needed it. She wanted independence, but she also wanted the security of knowing I was completely devoted to her. Update 2. 3 weeks ago, everything came to a head. She'd been increasingly passive-aggressive about my new boundaries, making snide comments about how I'd changed and how I was so different now. She'd test me by creating little dramas to see if I'd revert to my old behavior of rushing to fix everything for her. The breaking point came when she accused me of not loving her anymore. She said I'd become cold and selfish, that I cared more about my stupid side projects and gym routine than about her feelings. She said the old me would never have let her cry alone when she was upset. I finally lost my patience. I reminded her that she was the one who'd called me clingy and suffocating. She was the one who'd said she needed space and independence. I'd given her exactly what she asked for, and now she was angry about it. I told her she couldn't have it both ways. She couldn't demand independence and then complain when I respected that request. She broke down and admitted she'd made a mistake. She said she'd been young and stupid and had listened to the wrong people. She said she'd learned her lesson and just wanted things to go back to how they were in the beginning. But I realized something important in that moment. I didn't want to go back. The person I'd become during our break was someone I actually liked better. I was more balanced, more secure in myself, and more selective about where I invested my emotional energy. I'd learned that loving someone didn't mean losing yourself in the process. I told her that while I cared about her deeply, I couldn't go back to being the person who made her the center of my universe. I'd grown during our time apart, and that growth was something I wanted to keep. If she couldn't accept this version of me, then maybe we weren't compatible after all. She begged me to reconsider, promising she'd never complain about my attention again. But I could see that she was asking me to suppress the personal growth I'd experienced. She wanted the security of the old me without the reality of what that had been like for her. Update 3. We broke up 2 weeks ago. It was mutual in the sense that we both realized we wanted different things, but it was her decision to end it officially. She said she couldn't handle dating someone who felt like a stranger to her, and I couldn't go back to being someone I'd outgrown. The irony is that I'm actually grateful for her initial complaint about me being clingy. It forced me to examine my patterns in relationships and recognize that I had been putting too much of my identity into being someone's boyfriend. I'd been so focused on being the perfect partner that I'd neglected my own needs and interests. I've learned that real love isn't about making someone the center of your universe or being available 24/7. It's about maintaining your own identity while choosing to share your life with someone. It's about balance, communication, and mutual respect for each other's autonomy. Looking back, I can see that our relationship had underlying compatibility issues that went deeper than just my level of attentiveness. She wanted someone who would be completely devoted to her, but also independent enough to be attractive. She wanted the security of knowing I'd drop everything for her, while also having the excitement of feeling like she had to work for my attention sometimes. Those aren't realistic or healthy expectations. A good relationship shouldn't feel like a constant balancing act between being too much and not enough. It should feel natural and sustainable. I'm dating someone new now, and it's completely different. We both have full lives outside of each other, and our relationship enhances rather than defines us. We're both secure enough in ourselves to give each other space without it being a threat. When we spend time together, it's because we want to, not because we need to prove our love or maintain someone's attention. My ex texted me last week asking if we could talk. She said she'd been thinking about our relationship and wanted to apologize for how things ended. I politely declined. I've moved on, and I think rehashing our past would be unfair to both of us. I learned that sometimes when someone asks you to change, the best thing you can do is take them at their word. Give them exactly what they ask for. If they realize they didn't actually want what they thought they wanted, that's valuable information for both of you. And if you discover that you like the person you become when you make those changes, that's valuable too. The whole experience taught me that compatibility isn't just about loving each other. It's about wanting the same type of relationship and being able to communicate your needs clearly and honestly. My ex and I both learned important lessons, just not together. If you like this video, please subscribe us and click on the hype button below.